shed that the county has on its property, and kind of below the tree line, or to the east of the tree line, the path will go through the meadow, hugging along the tree line. Throughout that length, it will be mulch that we'll be using. And then you pick up on the second map, and starting from the bottom of the map, map B, you can see that it's swinging to the south as it goes towards Warren Avenue. The area where it makes that right-hand turn to go parallel to Warren Avenue, that big curve, there's some marshy area, so there's going to be some boardwalk built in there, so that people can have dry feet going through there. And then we've talked with the owner of the property and with the company that's going to do this work, and we had originally thought about doing mulch, but now I think we're going to do crushed stone there. That will be more permanent along that stretch that parallels Warren Avenue. We will cross Avon Hall Lane, and on the other side of Avon Hall Lane, you'll see we'll take another sharp right and proceed south. We'll go through those brackets. That represents a 15-foot bridge that will be built to cross that creek. Take us to the south side, and then it proceeds through a wooded area, and we'll come back down until it gets to the edge of where the post office property is. And we had originally thought we would utilize that second bridge that's already existing there, but I think what we have decided makes more sense is to stay on the south side of the creek and follow it parallel until it reaches Leggett Lane. And then if you go to map C is farther down Leggett Lane, where it will pick up at the very end of Leggett Lane, proceed westward, and go through a loop through that meadow, and then go into the woods. Where that curve is, there is some woods there, and then it would go through the woods and then come up and join with the entrance of the current path, which is at on Mr. DeBerg's property at the parking lot of 603, I believe it is. I'm not Salem. That is the route that will take. We will have, the next thing shows some design ideas that were proposed. The only one I'll bring your attention to is the bottom right, which is the wayfinding signposts, which we will have at different points. And I think those may be the entrance markers. I have to get some clarity on that. And then the last thing I want to show you is the finances. So we have received a pledge of up to $50,000 from two foundations. We have, thanks to Mr. Walton and another individual, we have $7,000 in individual gifts, and then the town council has already agreed to an outlay of $5,000. So we have a total of $62,000 in funds pledged. And the expenditure, the proposal which you received, which was in the packet that everyone had, showed the amount in phase one is $62,750. And we are taking out the 20-foot bridge since we're not going to be using that one. We're adding the crushed stone, and then the 4 entryway markers, and then we're adding an unforeseen expenses, which I'm sure there will be some as we go through this process. So we're looking at a $62,000 project in its final term.
Just put the crushed stone is just in that one section along the road.
Thank you for that clarification, yes. The crushed stone is only in that one section along where the path parallels Warren Avenue.
maintenance.
Yeah.
I can go buy that in March.
Yeah, that will provide us with not having to buy a whole bunch of bags of mulch down the road. I talked to Mr. Krim ahead of time, asked for his help in providing the language, and I understand, does he pass it on to you, Barbara? And I'd like to make a proposal, a motion, and then if I get a second, then I would like to open it up for discussion from town council members, and then if it's all right with you, Mr. Mayor, answer any questions from the public.
I move to approve the trail construction proposal from Ironwood Outdoors and authorize the execution of a contract based on that proposal in an amount not to exceed $62,000, with the scope and timing to be negotiated by the vice mayor. You say?
So that is my motion.
I'll second.
All right. I welcome any questions from town council members.
When it comes to benches,
Those benches are in phase 2, so those are not part of the phase 1 proposal.
okay,
The kiosks, the benches,
basically $900 a bench. Could those benches be ones that you get from trucks for the collected plastic that we get for free? Or,
yeah, absolutely, which is why it was put into phase 2.
okay,
Which we're not approving.
Right.
okay. And then my only other question, I mentioned you earlier, where you have the walkway and then the bridge, whether that can be constructed with plastic lumber.
I'll go back and talk with
Just from the standpoint of longevity,
Mr. Lowry.
you know, minimizing maintenance.
And by the way, you didn't ask the question, but Ironwood Outdoors, Mr. Lowry, the gentleman with whom I've worked, they're the ones who've done the magnificent job with the Sperryville Trail. So. Any other questions from council?
Yeah, I have a question about these wayfinding posts. I mean,
Yes.
I don't understand the schematic at all.
Yeah.
And then B, I don't know where they would be. I mean, there's, under phase 2, there's something about the trailhead entry.
Yeah, the trailhead entry is that large structure that when you look, it is in the top left corner that has the sign post office trail hanging off of it. I thought that was an extravagance that we didn't need.
Okay,
So the wayfinding signposts are, he says posts, but I'm thinking that they are the entryway signs. I've also put in additional funds. If these are posts, and they're, you may notice on trails that sometimes they'll have a flash or some other kind of way to mark where the trail is. So I'm wondering whether that's to be a post along the trail so that people don't get lost in the woods.
It seems to me that that would be unlikely. I mean, we're not in the middle of nowhere.
They're safe and sorry.
I think
We do it
a
twice.
simple sign showing the entry and exit, or marking the entry.
Yeah,
and
so
exit.
I guess I
Fair
don't
enough.
understand what these wayfinding posts would be doing.
My guess is that they will be the entry and entry signs. So that may be an expense that we're not going to need, that I put under there, the 4 entryway markers as an expenditure. That may already be in phase 2, or phase 1, I mean, when they have the wayfinding posts.
Okay.
So I'll get some clarity.
Everybody thinks we're going to be expensive, but $6,200.
Yeah, which is why it's in phase 2.
I think when we negotiate the details, we can certainly
Yeah.
sort out, but being as simplified as much as possible.
And part of it, that there may be, as we go through this process and we start doing this, there may be some embellishments that will provide more safety, but having a ceiling of $62,000 is something that's not going to be able to be negotiated with Ironwood Outdoors. They'll know what we're working with And we want to make this the best that we can make it.
And I'm sure, I speak for everyone when I say we appreciate your hard work on this, and I think it will be a great asset to the town.
I look forward to it. I look forward to it getting done.
That's the important one talking about.
Yes.
Any comments? Oh,
I
sorry.
was just gonna say, where the trail starts off Gay Street and cuts sort of back around, is there any opportunity for future courthouse development to cut into trails that were created here?
Part of the, yes, so part of the reason why the county insisted that the part that goes over their property be mulch
Okay.
is because at the time when it was approved by the county, they were talking about having a road
Right.
going out to Warren Avenue. And what they would do is the trail would actually follow the sidewalk that would be adjoining that road going out to Warren Avenue.
Okay.
So in other words, I'm getting ahead of myself. It's purposely done in mulch so that they can incorporate it into whatever their final designs are, if they do the courthouse there.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Two questions. One is phase two. If we do phase one and we committed to phase two, and then that breaches the 62,000, so
We are not committed to phase two.
okay, all right, good. And then I also had a question on the courthouse, but thank you for answering that. Maintenance, remulching, snow clearance in winter. Who's going to be responsible for that?
That will be part of what the town will have to take on.
So that will be an ongoing expense.
Yeah, the town right now is doing some clearing in the areas, and so maybe that we will have volunteers who will be doing it, and maybe that the town uses a landscaping business that they can do it. So there are a couple of different alternatives to that.
And then what about, maybe this is for Martin, are there any insurance implications if somebody slips and falls on the wooden part and injures themselves? Is the town liable because it's a town trail?
Martin, did you hear that question?
As soon as if somebody slips and falls on the trail, is the town liable?
Yes.
Yeah.
It depends. Sorry to be so vague, but that is the answer because, in Virginia we have contributory negligence as complete defense. So depending on what the person was doing at the time of the injury, they might not be able to cover anything. And the town has sovereign immunity with regard to the design of the trail. So it would be a question of whether the town had failed to maintain the trail. If we failed to maintain it and leave it open to the public, then we could have liability.
Okay, so preventing people from slipping on ice is going to be important for us.
Well, ice is an obvious hazard. So people need to take care of their own situation.
If let's say there was a huge pothole in the gravel area and someone fell in and twisted, broke their ankle, then it's,
Okay.
just, Martin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just trying to play out a scenario, that would be a problem. But like if you decide to walk down it on a snowy day.
Yeah, okay. But we have potholes. At the moment, they're the responsibility of VDOT.
Yes, right.
Well, it's essentially the same with sidewalks. If there's a defect in the sidewalk that's so open and obvious that you should see it, then the town's not liable. But if it's kind of hard to see, then the town could have some liability if it's aware of it. Everything else can fix it.
Another point that I forgot to mention earlier is one of the conditions for approval from the county is that the trail will only be open from dawn to dusk.
The signage will say that.
Yeah.
So somebody's going to put a
little
nice string across it.
I think the disclaimer is sufficient.
That was,
If you're not lighted trails at night, then you get what you get.
A bear.
related to insurance, the Sperryville Trail has a sign saying about dawn to dusk. It also says that something like travelers assume the risk. Does that make any difference?
Not really. I mean, I don't know that you could rely on that. I don't know that people read signs, first of all, I don't know that the course can care
Is it strictly pedestrian or bicycles allowed?
It is, the way that we're not going to prevent bicycles. The only problem with it is that you're going to have one portion that's a boardwalk. And the boardwalk's going to have space between the planks. And it's going to be going along it's not going to be crossed. It's going to be along the path. So it may be a bit hazardous, but that brings up a good point that we would ask people to walk their bicycles. We should put a sign up that would say that.
Or just
Well,
restrict
I would
bicycles,
like to
period.
try that first.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I've never seen any boardwalk where you run boards parallel to the direction of travel. They're always crosswise.
Oh, I've
And if
seen,
you're supporting them, you're gonna want to mount them.
I've seen a lot of times where trails are done where they're parallel.
No, then I would say we. you
Okay,
go
all
back
right,
to-
but one I would just stipulate, I don't think that we should allow bicycle traffic on a period, on a mulched, narrow path. It's just asking for somebody to run into some poor pedestrian, so why don't we just stipulate no bicycle traffic?
Small signs, little bicycle.
Yes.
Cross.
With a cross.
Post that
I
on.
don't see a lot of bicycles in town generally. What's that? Wheelchairs. If you want to push a wheelchair on mulch, you're in for a lot of exercise.
And I agree with the no bicycles, and I'll go back, I was wrong on this one, he does show that the planks are crosswise. So I apologize.
Any further discussion?
I had a separate, are we in the public bit? Is that
No,
it?
I'm just
Okay.
dealing with this particular
All right, I'll come back.
bending the rules a little bit. All right, so I guess motion in a second. I'll call the vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
All right?
Aye. Motion is adopted. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, now I will open the floor for public.
I wanted to ask about if Patrick is syncing the cables, does that mean we've also resolved the issue about the steps on the sidewalk to the log cabin?
As part of burying the cables, there's also, and I haven't seen a final proposal list, a discussion of widening the sidewalk for that entire block, which again is underwrite. And I want to be able to extend
The whole sidewalk?
the entire sidewalk. And
So then
we'll build it at
the
same time.
steps would remain, but there'd be room to go
Around,
around.
potentially, but I haven't seen a final proposal for that. The reason that I have not pushed on the removal of them so far is because if you do remove them, the original stone steps are underneath there, which I view as an even worse trip hazard than what we have now, because they're unmarked. There's no, if you were strolling down there in the twilight, it's, some sandstone, essentially, steps there that are just troublesome. But if the end moves forward with the proposal to widen the sidewalk, they're gonna have to come out for that construction anyway. And we can go from there.
Thank
So,
you.
Any other questions? All right, I will close the public comment, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
All right.
All right, we're adjourned. We'll see you in February.